The dust particles danced in the afternoon sunlight streaming through the window of James's study. 6 months after his fatal heart attack, I still couldn't bring myself to call it my study, even though the lawyer said everything in the house was now mine, including the secrets, apparently. I ran my finger along his mahogany desk, leaving a clean trail through the dust. Emma used to sit here as a little girl, watching her father work with those adoring eyes. Daddy's girl, everyone called her. Now, at 26, she wouldn't even take my calls. The wedding had been the breaking point, that perfect June day when everything fell apart, though I still didn't understand why. Emma had been radiant in her white dress, until the moment she saw me standing next to her father's empty chair in the front row. Her face had transformed into something I'd never seen before. Pure hatred. "How dare you sit there?" she hissed during the reception. That was Dad's place. "Emma, sweetheart, he would have wanted." "Don't tell me what he would have wanted." She'd thrown her champagne glass, missing my head by inches. "You never understood him." "Never." Those were the last words my daughter spoke to me. The next day, my number was blocked, and her new husband, Ryan, informed me they'd be taking their honeymoon early. They hadn't returned to the city since. Now, surrounded by James's things, I finally forced myself to begin the task of cleaning out his study. The lawyer needed documentation for the estate, and I couldn't put it off any longer. The first drawer held the expected items: pens, paper clips, sticky notes with his messy handwriting. The second contained files related to his investment firm, all meticulously labeled. James had always been organized, almost obsessively so. It was the third drawer that made me pause. Inside was a single silver picture frame, face down. I recognized it immediately, the matching mate to the one that had sat on his desk for 20 years, showing Emma at her high school graduation. But this frame had been hidden away, and when I turned it over, my breath caught. The photo showed James with a woman I'd never seen before, both of them younger, maybe in their early 30s. They were laughing at something off camera, his arm around her waist in a way that seemed far too intimate. The date stamp in the corner read 1999, the year James had taken that 3-month business trip to London. My hands trembled as I examined the frame more closely. Something about its weight felt off. I turned it over and noticed the backing was slightly loose. When I pried it open, a small USB drive fell into my lap. For several long minutes, I just stared at it. 28 years of marriage, and I thought I'd known everything about James. He'd been the perfect husband, the perfect father, Emma's hero, my rock. My laptop whirred to life, its fan stirring the dust on the desk. The USB drive contained a single folder labeled for Emma, when ready. Inside were dozens of files, letters, photos, bank statements, and a video file dated 2 weeks before his death. I clicked play. James's face filled the screen, looking tired but determined. He was sitting in this very study in the leather chair I was now occupying. "Emma, my darling girl," he began, and my heart clenched at the familiar warmth in his voice. "If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And it's finally time for you to know the truth. The truth about everything, about Claire, about the money, and about why I've spent the last 20 years trying to make up for what I did." He ran a hand through his silver hair, a gesture so familiar it hurt. "I've lived with this guilt for too long, protected by your mother's silence." Yes, she knew. She's known since that summer in London, though we never spoke of it. She chose to forgive me to keep our family together. "For you." My mind reeled. What was he talking about? I'd never known about any Claire, never suspected anything about that London trip. "Claire was my first love," James continued. "We were engaged before I met your mother. When Claire reappeared in my life in '99, pregnant with my child, your half-sister, I made choices I'm not proud of. I emptied our savings account, nearly bankrupted us trying to keep both families afloat. Your mother discovered everything, but instead of exposing me, she helped me fix it. She's the one who saved the company, saved our reputation. Saved me." The room spun around me. A half-sister? Company savings? I had never known about any of this. But then memory after memory began clicking into place. The mysterious financial troubles that year, the way James had become almost desperately devoted to Emma afterward, the unsigned birthday cards that arrived every year until they suddenly stopped 5 years ago. "I've set up a trust fund," James was saying on screen. "For both my daughters. Your mother knows nothing about this money. It's from my personal accounts, Earned after I swore to be a better man. Claire died last year, and her daughter, your sister Sarah, deserves to know her family. The full truth is in these files, along with contact information and legal documents. What you do with this information is up to you." He leaned closer to the camera, his eyes filling with tears. "But Emma, my precious girl, please don't blame your mother for keeping this secret. Everything she did, every silence she endured, was to protect you. She's a far better person than I ever was." The video ended, leaving me in a silence so profound I could hear my own heartbeat. With shaking hands, I opened another file, recent photos of a young woman who had James's eyes and Emma's smile. Now I understood Emma's fury at the wedding. She must have found this drive, watched this confession, and assumed I'd known everything all along. She thought I'd helped hide her sister from her. But James had been wrong about one thing I hadn't known. Not about Claire, not about Sarah, not about any of it. He created a fiction of my noble silence to ease his own guilt, never imagining that his last confession would destroy the very thing he'd spent 20 years trying to protect, the relationship between mother and daughter. I reached for my phone, then stopped. Emma still had me blocked, but as I looked at the photo of the half-sister she'd never known, I realized there might be another way to reach my daughter. Sometimes healing can only begin when the last lie is exposed, even if it's a lie meant to protect. The first thing I did after finding the letters was call Barbara Chen, my old friend who happened to be a forensic accountant. We'd lost touch after the divorce, another casualty of Tom's careful social engineering. But she picked up on the first ring. "Sarah," she said, "I've been waiting 3 years for this call." 2 hours later, I sat in her home office, watching as she methodically went through each document. Her face grew increasingly grim as she pieced together the financial puzzle Tom and Diane had constructed. "This is impressive," she finally said, but not in a complimentary way. "They've been planning this since before you even knew who Diane was. The company's quarterly reports, the offshore accounts, the systematic transfer of assets, it's all here." I felt sick. "How much?" "Based on these numbers," Barbara tapped her calculator, "they've hidden at least $12 million. Maybe more." 12 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. During the divorce, Tom had claimed the company was worth barely $2 million, and I'd walked away with a settlement of less than half that. "What they've done isn't just morally wrong," Barbara continued, "it's criminal. Tax evasion, fraud, embezzlement, we're talking serious federal charges." My phone buzzed, another text from Michael. "Mom, Diane wants to know if you have any food allergies. She's planning this amazing heritage turkey recipe." Heritage turkey. Of course. Everything about Diane had to be premium, superior, special. Even her betrayal was expertly crafted. "What do you want to do?" Barbara asked quietly. I looked at the scattered evidence of my ex-husband's duplicity, then at my son's innocent text. "I want justice," I said slowly, "but I need to be smart about this. Michael deserves to know the truth, but not in a way that destroys him." Barbara nodded, already reaching for her phone. "I know some people. We can have everything documented and verified within a week, just in time for your Thanksgiving dinner." The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Barbara introduced me to James Martinez, a former IRS investigator turned private forensic specialist. He took one look at the letters and immediately started building a case. "They got sloppy," he said, pointing to a series of transactions. "They were so focused on hiding money from you that they left a clear trail for anyone who knew where to look." Meanwhile, Diane kept texting, each message more saccharine than the last. "Sarah, darling, I found these gorgeous vintage placemats that would look perfect with my grandmother's china. You'll love them." My grandmother's china. I wanted to scream. The set Tom had accidentally broken during the move, only for me to discover later it had been relocated to their new house. Then came the text that nearly broke me. "Michael's so excited to start new family traditions. Tom says you'll absolutely love what we've done with the dining room. Completely transformed it from what it used to be." What it used to be was my heart and soul, 25 years of memories and love poured into every detail. Now it was just another asset they'd stolen. By Tuesday we had everything in place. Barbara had compiled a comprehensive report of their financial misdeeds. James had documented every fraudulent transaction. And I had something even more valuable. I had their arrogance. "They'll never expect you to show up with evidence," James explained during our final meeting. People like this, they think they're untouchable. They believe their own lies so completely that they can't imagine being caught. I thought about all the little lies that had led to this moment, the late meetings that smelled of expensive perfume, the business trips that coincided with Diane's suspicious absences from her own job, the way company profits had mysteriously dwindled just as Tom started wearing designer suits and driving luxury cars. What about Michael? I asked. How do I protect him from this? Barbara placed her hand over mine. By showing him the truth before someone else does. Better he learns it from his mother who loves him than from a news report or a federal indictment. My phone chimed again, this time with a group text from Diane to the entire family. Can't wait to start our new holiday traditions together. Sarah, we've set you a special place at the table. After all, you're still family. I looked at the message, then at the mountain of evidence before me. Family. The word had meant everything to me once. Now it was just another tool in their arsenal of manipulation. Okay, I said, straightening my spine. Let's give them a Thanksgiving they'll never forget. James began organizing the documents into clear, chronological order. The IRS team will be on standby. One call from you, and they'll move in. And I've alerted the company's board, Barbara added. They're ready to take emergency action as soon as the evidence is presented. I picked up my phone and typed a response to Diane's text. Looking forward to it. And yes, I'd love to bring something to dinner. After all, what's Thanksgiving without a few surprises? The reply came instantly. Wonderful. Though I've got all the traditional dishes covered. Maybe just bring yourself. If she only knew what I was really bringing to the table. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I thought about Michael. About the look that would be on his face when he learned the truth about his father. About Diane. About the company he'd always assumed he'd inherit one day. But I also thought about justice. About truth. About the responsibility we have to expose darkness, even when it hurts the people we love. Tomorrow, I would start preparing my own special dish for Thanksgiving. The main ingredients, years of lies, a dash of karma, and enough evidence to serve them all exactly what they deserved. Thanksgiving Day arrived with a bitter wind and threatening clouds, nature itself seeming to understand the storm that was about to break. I dressed carefully in a black suit that I'd bought with my meager divorce settlement, my documentation organized in a sleek leather briefcase. The drive to my old home felt like entering enemy territory. Holiday decorations mocked me from the perfectly manicured lawn, decorations that had once been mine, now arranged with Diane's artificial precision. Michael opened the door, his smile genuine but nervous. Mom, you look different. Different good or different bad. Just serious. He hugged me, and for a moment I almost lost my resolve. Then I caught a glimpse of Diane in the background, wearing my mother's antique apron while stirring something in my grandmother's serving bowl. The house smelled of turkey and betrayal. Everything had been redecorated, sanitized of my existence, yet they kept the valuable pieces of my family history as their own. The dining room table, my parents' wedding gift to us, was set with elaborate precision. Sarah, Diane's voice dripped honey. We saved you a special seat. Yes, at the far end of the table, away from my son, away from the head where Tom sat smugly in his designer sweater. The perfect picture of the family they'd stolen from me. Before we sit, I said, placing my briefcase on the table, I have something to share. Mom? Michael's voice held a warning. It's a family tradition, I continued, meeting Tom's suddenly wary eyes, to express what we're thankful for. I'm thankful for evidence, for forensic accountants, and for the IRS agents who are currently surrounding this house. The color drained from Tom's face. Diane dropped a serving spoon with a clatter. What are you talking about? Michael asked. I opened my briefcase slowly, deliberately. I'm talking about $12 million in hidden assets, about systematic fraud, about the truth your father and his wife have been hiding. Sarah, don't. Tom started to rise. Sit down, I said quietly, unless you want the agents outside to come in early. For the next 15 minutes, I laid out the evidence, bank statements, transfer records, Diane's early involvement, the offshore accounts. With each document, Michael's face grew paler, his hands shaking as he recognized his father's signatures, Diane's meticulous notes. All this time, he whispered, while Mom could barely afford her apartment. We were protecting you, Diane tried, but Michael cut her off. By stealing from my mother? By lying to everyone? The doorbell rang. Tom and Diane froze like statues. That would be the federal agents, I said, gathering my documents. They're very interested in having their own dinner conversation with you both. What followed was a blur of badges, handcuffs, and Miranda rights. As Tom and Diane were led away, I heard her whisper, "The turkey's going to burn." "Let it," Michael said, his voice hard. It was never about the turkey, was it? Later that evening, Michael and I sat in my small apartment, eating delivery pizza, a new Thanksgiving tradition born from the ashes of the old. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked. "I needed proof, and you needed to see who they really were without my influence." He nodded, understanding finally replacing the hurt in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Mom, for all of it." "You have nothing to be sorry for," I said, reaching for his hand. "But we have a lot to be thankful for tonight." "Like what?" "Like truth, justice, and the fact that your father and Diane will be eating prison turkey next Thanksgiving." Michael actually smiled. "And the company?" "The board has asked me to step in as interim CEO. Apparently, they appreciate executives who don't commit federal crimes." We stayed up late that night, talking, healing, planning. Outside, the bitter wind had died down, and the threatening clouds had finally broken, making way for stars. Sometimes I realized we have to lose the false comfort of lies to find the genuine warmth of truth. And while revenge might be a dish best served cold, justice, like love, is best served with courage, strength, and, if necessary, a side of delivery pizza.